I walked into my daughter's appointment trying to figure out what to fight for. And I love realizing I may have been thinking too small. We had just finished my daughter's orthopedic appointment. And honestly, I thought we were there to talk about her body, how she's moving, what support she might need, what we should be watching for as she grows. But somewhere in that conversation, it turned into something bigger than that. My wife asked the doctor for advice. We have a PPT meeting coming up for Rowe, and we were trying to figure out what kind of proof we needed, what kind of letter we should ask for, what services we should be fighting for, because school for Rowe is not just school, it is support, safety, access, trust. And in our minds, we were already leaning toward a therapeutic classroom, something smaller, more controlled, more protected. That felt like the safe choice. But then the doctor started talking about possibilities I had not even fully considered. A paraprofessional? A nurse? Support built around Rowe. And then she said Rowe should be in a more typical classroom. That stopped me. Not because I disagreed, because I had not pictured it. I did not know that was possible. I did not know she could have that kind of support and still be around typical children. And sitting there, I felt humbled because the doctor was speaking about my daughter with more possibility than I had carried into the room. I thought I was being careful. I thought I was being realistic. I thought I was protecting her. But maybe I was also limiting what I allowed myself to believe was possible for her. And that is hard to admit. Because as a father, I do not want to place a ceiling over my child while calling it protection. And I'm not saying Roe does not need support. She does. She needs a nurse. She needs a paraprofessional. She needs structure, safety plans, and people who understand her medical needs. But what challenged me was this: support does not automatically mean placing her in the smallest classroom. Maybe support means building the right help around her while still giving her room to grow. And that made me think about what Paul said in Corinthians. One person plants, another waters, but God gives the growth. And I think that hit me because I have to detach my daughter's growth from my control. I can advocate, I can prepare, I can ask questions, I can fight for services, but I do not get to decide the full measure of what God can grow in her. And that is what made this appointment uncomfortable because I could take the doctor's advice one of two ways. I could ignore it and choose the smaller room because it feels safer, or I could sit with it and ask whether God may be calling us to consider a bigger environment with the right support around her. And if I'm being honest, the smaller room still comforts me. It still feels safer, but I'm learning that the faithful choice is not always the comfortable one. I walked in trying to figure out what to fight for, but I left realizing maybe I had been fighting for the safest version of her future, not the fullest one. Not because I do not believe in my daughter, but because small still feels safe to me. And maybe that is what humbled me most. Sometimes love protects, but sometimes love has to make room.